All right, today I want to look at our new wrenches and really explain how they work, and then also show off our double high seesaws. If you're on our backer kit, you'll see that these are available as an upgrade. Essentially, over the years, I've made a lot of different wrenches, a lot of different ways, trying to solve some very simple challenges. And the truth is, the 5mm and Spectratone mouthpieces, they don't really need wrenches unless you buy brand new parts that have been plated and they need to be broken in, or unless you screw the mouthpiece into the receiver too hard, because you really shouldn't be twisting that very hard despite what your 5th grade teacher told you. So let me show you the first wrench. I'm going to take the nut off, and this is our new stainless steel hex wrench, and we call it hex because it has hexagon lattice in it, and it only fits one way. It fits this direction, and then you just twist and you're done, and you can easily loosen it up. You really shouldn't need it to tighten the mouthpiece, just maybe loosen it if you've over tightened it in the receiver. Now it doesn't fit the other way, and that's because there's a little slot here that just barely fits in, and that's so that you use the thumb grip correctly. It's very simple, so you can pull that apart. If you did not have this wrench, you could actually do that with this tool, and this is a multi-tool that can, in an emergency, remove a lot of different parts, and you can see that section where it says back bore can easily remove the back bore. Now this is a stainless steel multi-wrench, and it is fairly thin. I mean, it's not super thin. It'll work just fine as long as you don't twist it. So I've had people say, oh, well, that didn't work, I broke the wrench. Take the time to actually think about how this works and use it correctly, and it won't break. But if you're one of those people that really likes to muscle things, maybe this wrench is better for you. We sell them as a kit. The rim wrench is new, and that rim wrench replaces the old ones that we had. We used to have rim wrenches that would fit in this little spanner hole. I'm not drilling the spanner holes anymore because, you know, that was something I did at the very beginning, like over a decade ago. I wasn't sure if these would ever get stuck, and they really don't get stuck very often. If they do, it's usually the same thing. Somebody's over tightened them, or they didn't have grease in there. So this is made of TPU, which is a flexible kind of a plastic. It's 3D printed. They're not real expensive to make, and you can just put it on there and twist your rim, and it comes right off, as you see. Now, sometimes you'll get a brand new rim or a brand new cup, and they're plated, and they may be tight going together with the first time. You want to make sure that all the threads are greased. So these threads, the threads inside here, the threads outside, every single thread. And you also want to make sure the O-ring on the throat is greased. So that O-ring right there needs to have grease on it. And we use the Super Lube grease. You can use other types, that's perfectly fine. When you get a new cup or a new rim and you want to put them together the first time, you may want to have these two tools, the cup tool and the rim tool. And the way they work is you can just drop your cup into here. It's got two little flats on it that snap in, so that's fit in there just fine. And then you can take the rim and screw it on either manually like this, or you can use that rim tool to do it. Now that will solve that problem if, let me pull it back out, if you put it in correctly. So there, I've got it in, and that's pretty simple. You can just screw it together, and that's to get it put together the very first time. You may never need it after that. And now I can screw the rest of this into the body. You want to grease this section too. Slide it together. And now your Spectratone or 5mm mouthpiece is together. I didn't mention this, but all threads need to be greased, including the back bore threads. So those need to be greased. There are threads for the nut. Those need to be greased. Once you have all that together, your mouthpiece really isn't going to have any issues. So we have the multi-tool wrench, which does have the spanner hole. This wrench isn't as relevant for the newest mouthpieces, but if you have an older Harrelson mouthpiece, you may want that spanner wrench hole if you don't have this rim tool. And you can also use this rim tool, which will grab the flats on the older style rims. And you know, if you're looking at removing VGRs that could be stuck, you would use these two tools. Again, something we almost never see. And same with the nut. If you needed to remove the nut, again, something we never see. So this tool will eventually become obsolete. these three tools will probably be the ones we use the most. And then lastly, I have this other little tool, and this one is to remove the finger button bases from the tops, like inlaid tops. Let me grab a finger button and show you. Here we have a Harrelson finger button, and there's a base which has the threads that fit a specific make and model, and then there is the top, which a lot of times is an inlaid top. Doesn't always have to have an inlay. We make these as two separate pieces, and this little tool allows you to pull them apart. These three little bosses will fit into the three little holes, and then you can just remove the top. And that's important because you may decide that you want to take your acrylic finger buttons or your turquoise or opal and put the inlays on a different trumpet someday. Then you would need this tool to remove them. So the ones that we recommend removal for are in brass. If you're removing inlays from silver or gold, they could be much more difficult, and in that case you definitely would need the wrench, and you may even need our help because once they're plated they are very, very tight. But the brass ones, very easy to pull apart, put back together, and have a finished finger button. And the last thing to show you is the double high C sauce. I know some of you have seen it before. This is actually kind of our prototype sauce, and it's not going to go into production, but we do have other ones that will eventually take the place of this. And the graphics on this were AI generated. I got a lot of feedback from that saying, oh, why would you do that? Well, it's because I'm not going to spend 10 or 20 hours drawing something for a little label when we sell these for kind of at cost. You know, the idea is for you to have some fun with some hot sauce. But in the future, we will have different styles and different sauces, and they will have some of my own original art on them, and some of them will feature some of our trumpets. So this is the double high C sauce. They're very limited availability. We'll probably only do about 50 bottles of these, and then we'll move on to the final designs, which will actually be a little bit different. So that's what you have today in today's video, is these new wrenches. Laser sintering is what created these wrenches, and that's what makes them affordable enough to sell them to you at cost. That little stainless steel wrench was made with a laser and a powder bed, so it's pretty amazing. We can metal 3D print things like that, and the same with this wrench. And then these ones were made with other types of printers. This was an SLS printer that does nylon, and this was an FDM printer that does TPU. So and this, of course, was laser cut and engraved. So there's all kinds of stuff there, but you can see you may want one of these wrench sets. And I believe the full wrench set without this, the mouthpiece wrench set, sells for $30. Hot sauce is $12. And yeah, that's all for today's video. Thanks for watching. See you next time.